Jerome Ezekiel Cousins was an absolute rock star this season for the Vikings, where he was sacked and pressured for the most times in his career, but he stood in there. He threw darts. Him and the Vikings offense and Justin Friggin Jefferson was fantastic. And I mean, Kirk was clutch when it mattered, except for the last play against the Giants, but it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Kirk Cousins with Kevin O'Connell had an absolute career renaissance year, and as he heads into the season where he turns 35, questions are about his future going forward. And of course, since it's the offseason, all of the, hey, Kirk and Kyle Shanahan getting back together, all those question marks. Because, of course, Kyle Shanahan was the OC when his dad Mike was the head coach when they drafted Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, 2012. After trading up heaven and earth for RG3, and Kyle's always had an affinity for Kirk, and all the speculation every single offseason since Kirk's been here with the Viking is also when Kirk was in Washington, when Kyle Shanahan got the Niners job. It's like, hey, is it finally time to make this happen? Is it finally peanut butter and jelly time, or will they forever be apart? Enter Barstool. So I understand that Barstool isn't everyone's cup of tea, but then I realize I'm not everyone's cup of tea either, but they make some very good points here. So they tweeted out, with Jimmy G gone, Brady off the board, and Brock Purdy ailing, Kyle Shanahan's 49ers need to get Kirk Cousins, which kind of makes sense. Kyle Shanahan's already says, like, Jimmy Garoppolo, there's no scenario where he comes back as a free agent. Tom Brady is allegedly retired. We'll see. And then Brock Purdy does potentially need UCL surgery, which could cost him the bulk, if not all, of the 2023 season after his fantastic rookie year. And Trey Lance is a wild card at best. So with Jimmy G gone, blah, 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 blah. So it gets into the point where this is a point that gets overlooked a lot. So this is what he wrote. The writer is Matt Fitzgerald. Back in 2017, when the Niners owned the number 2 overall pick in the draft and infamously took defensive lineman Solomon Thomas. So that was the year that they traded down from 2 to 3 and got the Bears to bid against themselves and trade up to 2 to take Mitchell Trubisky-Ponder. Over Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. They could have drafted Patrick Mahomes. Instead, they were banking on acquiring Cousins, who'd have reunited with Shanahan following their shared time with the now Commanders in Washington. So they were banking, because remember, the Niners went into the 2017 season with Brian Hoyer as their starting quarterback. Also, like, C.J. Beathard was in there as well. And then 2017 mid-season is when they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. And the plan had been potentially trading mid-season for Kirk Cousins, or at minimum signing him in free agency after Washington decided not to franchise tag him for a 3rd time. But of course, Kirk Cousins signed with Minnesota, chose Minnesota over the Jets, adding fuel to the dumbest rivalry in sports history. And the Niners with Garoppolo, I mean, they were kind of hamstrung. John Lynch traded for Garoppolo, and they paid him a buttload of money, so they weren't going to go after Kirk Cousins. So just like ships in the night. And of course, we said that if Kirk Cousins had been the quarterback of the Niners in the Super Bowl down in Miami against the Chiefs, the Niners would have won, because Kirk Cousins hits Emmanuel Sanders on that post route, which Jimmy G obviously missed, right? But it didn't happen, and every single offseason since then, it's like, oh, Kirk Cousins to the Niners? Question mark? And then getting into compensation, I'd imagine it'd take Trey Lance, the former number 3 overall pick who they traded up for, who apparently they're giving up on. Kind of seems like John Lynch is sort of letting the cat out of the bag. A first-round pick in 2024, a conditional 3rd rounder in 2025 or thereabouts for the 49ers to realistically acquire Cousins, who'd only be an $18.75 million cap hit as the contract currently stands. Because remember, cap hits incur when the money gets paid. So the Vikings would still have to carry his signing bonus cap hits, which is fine, and all the Niners would pick up is his new base salary for next season, or this season. It's fine. Either way. So it can work out financially. Logistically, I mean, so visualizing. So you're trading Kirk Cousins, where one, I do think that Kirk gives you the best chance to win in 2023. I absolutely do think that he does. And 2, you're picking up Trey Lance, who was a former number 3 overall pick. And a lot of people are calling him a bust. He literally started 2 games. Like, he got in for a handful of work during his rookie year, but he literally started 2 games, and you're already trying to write this kid off as a bust? No. I mean, there's a reason why he was the number 3 overall pick, and maybe John Lynch is just jaded because things didn't work out the way that he did. It's like, oh, I unearthed Brock Purdy. Look at me. I'm John Lynch. All that stuff. Or potentially picking up Kirk Cousins, where, Trey Lance may need a season or two to get to where he needs to be. Kirk Cousins is win now. And if you put Kirk Cousins in that offense with McCaffrey and Kittle and Ayuk and Debo, and that offensive line, Trent Williams watching his ass again, like it was back in the Washington days, and also you putting him with the number 1 defense in the league versus number 31 defense in the league, you can do some things. You certainly can. So I don't think it's necessarily they're completely throwing in the towel on Trey Lance. Is that they see Lance as an asset that they can acquire Kirk Cousins and win now mode. Yeah, and then also 2024 first-round pick when the Niners actually get their first-round picks back, and then a conditional 2025 third-rounder. You would have to think about it because, A, you'd pick up Trey Lance, your potential future franchise quarterback who still has 2 years and a 5th-year option left on his rookie deal. Then you're picking up an extra first-round pick in 2024. Yes, the Niners are probably going to be good next year, so it's going to be a late first-round pick. And also you're getting a conditional pick where you're getting all that for Kirk Cousins. It's pretty good. It is. And the only downside is, so Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell have preached competitive rebuild, and they got 13 wins and division title in competitive rebuild year. If you trade Kirk Cousins, especially to an NFC rival, you're completely signaling that it's rebuild time. And if you're going to do that, do it right. Trade Kirk, trade Daniil, trade any player of value. But you're also going to be walking a fine line because if you're completely hitting the reset button, which wouldn't be the worst idea in the world considering some of the veteran contracts on here, you have to be concerned about pissing off Justin Jefferson because he loves Kirk Cousins. Like, Jefferson wasn't throwing the ball to himself the first 3 years of his career, and he wants to win. He sees this guy, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. They're going to Super Bowls. They're going to conference title games. They ain't even doing that. Justin Jefferson in 3 years has been to 1 playoff game, which sticks in his craw. And I'm convinced that money isn't the be-all, end-all with Jefferson. It's about winning. It's about having fun. So does he want to be the highest-paid receiver in the league and be part of a rebuild, or does he want to go somewhere else? It's something that Kwesi's going to have to balance if it happens. But hell, maybe Trey Lance gets here, and then Justin Jefferson's like, oh, I got my quarterback for the next decade and a half, and we're good to go in that regard. But who really knows? Like, it does seem like this connection has been a long time in coming, but leave it to Barstool to be the voice of reason, which is hilarious, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. Is this the offseason where Kirk Cousins and Kyle Shanahan are finally reunited, and it feels so good? Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.